Oh yeah, this rocks!
Hello fellow miners, welcome to the 6th video in my series on how to be more successful at Deep Rock Galactic Survivor, my favorite roguelite survivor game. This series will cover a number of topics that will help you be more successful in your dives. It is intended for players who range from being relatively new with little hours played to more experienced players with lots of hours played. You should at least be familiar with the basic mechanics and gameplay prior to watching this video. For this video, I will be going over the launch of 1.0 with a focus on key changes from early access. The target audience for this video are players who had played during early access, but new players may learn something too. A lot has changed, and in a way, it's a brand new game. If you want to learn even more, I suggest you join the DRGS Discord and ask questions, or drop a sub as there is more to come in the series.
Out with the old, in with the new!
So what's new with 1.0? There are a ton of new features and changes. Here is a noteworthy list of the new features and changes, but I recommend you read the full patch notes. You can find a link in the description. The main mission road and the escort mission type are big additions, and I won't be covering them in this video, but they will be covered in future videos. The focus of this video is to get you up to speed so you can dive into 1.0 with relative ease. The topics I'll be covering include bonking, gear, meta and masteries, and the difficulty of the game.
Bet the beasties didn't see this one coming!
So what is bonking? Bonking is a brand new mechanic with the launch of 1.0. Your dwarf can now hit small bugs and knock them back just by walking up to them. This is partly to address small hidden bugs that can be hidden behind terrain or obscured in other ways, but as a fun way to interact with the bugs. Bonking operates on a cooldown, so you can't machine gun style bonk bugs away. You also can't bonk mini elites, larger bugs like Praetorians, and standard elites. It's just the small bugs, but it importantly includes mini exploders and the QNR younglings. This is a huge change as you can now traverse the map in less pronounced zigzagging to dodge small bugs. You can also swiftly knock back small grouping of bugs to clear your path. You will still need to dodge at times due to the cooldown or if there are lots of bugs nearby. The overall effect though is that you will take less chip damage from these small bugs. Bonking also makes it easier to mine gold and nitra as you can do a quick turnaround and bonk bugs away, giving you a few precious seconds to finish mining. For meta minerals, stalactites and salt pits, trees in Azure World, and detonators and beamers in Escort, mining these also becomes easier as bugs walking around the objects can get bonked back, giving you the precious second or two to finish mining them. Bonking also works great when grabbing a supply pod with a crowded landing zone. As you dance on the edge of the landing zone to call the supply pod, you can bonk the small bugs away.
My gear could use some improvement!
So what is gear? Gear are equipable items that enhance your stats. It is the biggest addition to the game in my opinion. It allows you greater character customization towards builds and playstyles. Gear comes with randomized stats and quirks. Quirks are passive abilities that trigger after certain actions or events, which can either be a temporary buff or a scaling stat. Not all quirks are created equal though. Quirks can be extremely powerful or pretty weak depending on the ability. Gear drops randomly in dives along with a guaranteed drop once the dive has been completed. The drops have an icon on the mini-map to indicate their location, along with a beam on the main map to help you find it in the swarm of bugs. Picking up gear is similar to the flower or mushroom secondary objectives, so you must get decently close to the gear. Sadly, your pickup radius does not improve your ability to pick up gear, and you also cannot equip gear you find mid-dive. You do keep your gear upon death though. Gear has different rarities and levels. The rarities are the same as in-dive upgrades except there is no common gear. Rarity affects how many stats and what kinds of quirks can roll on the gear. The gear level affects how good the stats will roll with a maximum level of 99. Gear rarity is influenced by your player rank, not the in-game luck stat, which is the number displayed in the upper right corner of the menus. Player rank is the sum of your class levels divided by 3. It hasn't been fully detailed how player rank influences gear rarity, other than that higher ranked players will see higher rarity gear drops. Gear levels are affected by the hazard level you are playing, in addition to the gear level bonus, which is a special profile stat based on new milestones. Completing these milestones will increase your gear level bonus. Generally, you want gear that is high rarity with high levels, as that gear tends to be more powerful, but it's not always the case. Gear of low rarity with high levels can be just as powerful depending on the stats and quirks. The same applies for gear of high rarity with low levels. There are 6 different types of gear where each type generally has specific stats and quirks they can roll. Refer to the gear type table for what we know so far. The rules regarding what stats and quirks gear can roll is not fully documented yet, so this table is merely to give you an idea of what gear types roll what stats and quirks. Additionally, within each type are subtypes of gear with specific names and icons that tend to roll combinations of specific stats. The different subtypes are also not fully documented at this point. For gear management, each class mod has their own gear loadout. You manage your gear through a dedicated gear screen, accessible from the main menu and when selecting your class mod. Within this screen, you can manage your gear, which includes equipping it, upgrading it, or selling it. If you are playing on a PC, I find this screen is best used with a mouse and keyboard, especially when you start to accrue large numbers of gear. A controller can be used, but it's just more tedious. Within this screen is a Smart Equip button, which I'd rather just call Quick Equip since it's not that intelligent. Smart Equip equips the highest level gear for all slots, replacing any lower level gear you have equipped. You will likely use it often when starting off in 1.0, but its utility falls off the more gear you have, as you will likely want more control of your gear loadout later after you have multiple pieces of each type of gear that vary in levels, stats, quirks, build utility, etc. You can also upgrade your gear, which increases the stats by a small amount. At this time, you can only upgrade each piece of gear 3 times. Upgraded gear is denoted by small dots in the upper left corner of the gear. I would refrain from upgrading any gear for the first few weeks, as the gains are small and you'll likely be rapidly getting better gear as you play. It's better to hold off upgrading to save credits and minerals for when you eventually get near or true best in slot gear. You can also sell your gear for credits and minerals. Unlike upgrading where I suggest waiting a few weeks, you can and should sell your gear often, especially low rarity and low level gear. If you are playing a lot, you will accumulate a lot of gear, and managing your gear can become its own secondary game. You should keep some gear of each type, especially if you find gear with combinations of stats you like, or if the gear has a powerful quirk. Gear with quirks that are low rarity and or low level can still be extremely powerful. It can be worth holding onto gear with those powerful quirks until you can replace them later, or if they really enhance a specific build you like. The take-home message is don't be afraid to sell though, you will get better gear the more you play. While I really like the addition of gear, my biggest issue about the gear system is the current state of gear management. I don't want to play the gear management game, I want to kill bugs. The 1.0 release has some good quality of life features, but it could definitely use more. I know Funday is aware of this, so we will likely see more quality of life features around gear management in the near future. Until then, I will be managing my gear very haphazardly to avoid spending too much time in the gear screen. And now a quick word from our sponsor.
Hey, fellow miners, this is Willie from Wacky Willie's Weapon Warehouse with a special message for you. Oh boy, we got the largest selection of weapons this side of Hox's, and these weapons are flying off the shelf. We sell more than your grandpa's M1000. I'll tell you what, we got every kind of projectile weapon from light all the way to heavy. Like explosions, we got you covered too. We carry a full selection of totally legal and management-approved high explosives. But wait, we even carry drones and beam weapons galore. Heck, we even got them throwing axes. So what are you waiting for? Come on down and mention this ad to receive 10% off your next purchase and a free lunch coupon to Darcy's Diner for Dwarfs. And remember, you ain't silly when you buy from Willie. Yeehaw!
Thank you, Willie. We appreciate your sponsorship.
Time for some ripping and some tearing.
So what changed with meta upgrades and masteries? To account for the stats from gear, meta upgrades and masteries have had their stats reduced, effectively nerfing them. While this feels bad initially, gear will fill the gaps in power level and then some. Here are the meta stats in early access versus 1.0. As for other changes, Morkite reactor cores have been removed from the game, so upgrading your meta is easier if you haven't fully upgraded your meta yet. Credit and mineral costs have been significantly reduced starting at level 7, with final total cost reductions at about 51%. Here is the breakdown of the cost to upgrade your meta stats in 1.0. The mastery bonuses are no longer tied to hazard level, where completing them on a higher hazard grants a higher bonus. They have moved to a one and done system for the bonuses. Weapon masteries vary on the required hazard, where they must be completed on hazard 2 through 4, depending on the weapon. Class mod and biomasteries must be completed on hazard 3 or greater. You can still complete them at a higher hazard, but the only reason now is for style points. This will be a welcome change for players looking to gain the bonuses, but won't care about the style points.
Time for a challenge!
So what has changed with the difficulty of the game? With the meta and mastery stat reductions and the rebalancing of the bugs and defensive stats, you will no longer be able to complete Hazard 5 dives as easily. This is because the game is balanced around gear now. If you jump into Hazard 5 without gear, you will have a bad time. You will get rocked. It's not impossible, but not worth it unless you're attempting to get the no gear achievements. As mentioned during the meta and masters review, gear is intended to fill the gaps in power level, and it certainly will, but you first need to get gear. I advise you play 1 to 2 hazard levels down from what you were used to in early access until you at least get one piece of gear for each gear slot. You may even want to wait until you have a few pieces of gear for each slot so you can optimize your gear loadout. At the start of the video, I highlighted that HP and armor had been changed. Specifically, they have been dialed up. Here's a slide showing the increases to their upgrades from early access. One of the reasons they have been dialed up is that the bugs now hit harder. With these changes, HP and armor are now way more valuable in 1.0, and are stats that I'll be looking for on gear. They can both roll very high numbers on gear, so keep an eye out for that when managing your gear. Stacking large amounts of both will absolutely help your dives feel smoother and more akin to how early access felt. That concludes the 6th video in my series on how to be more successful at Deep Rock Galactic Survivor. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you haven't watched the other parts, you can find links in the description or by browsing my YouTube page. The previous parts in this video series still have a ton of good information, but be aware some of it is out of date. If you have questions or feedback, drop a comment below, or feel free to ping me on the DRGS Discord. I'm the Hardcore Nutjob Guy. Thank you. Rockin' Stone.
Heave-ho, Rockin' Stone.